let's go to this story here. We're gonna start out actually. We have a case study QB clip for that also. But I just want to show the article first. So let's share here. And this sums up. Not the entire screen. This one. So the New York State Senate Judiciary Committee voted against Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul, nominee for the state top judge. Progressives said his rulings regarding abortion rights, labor, and criminal justice made his nomination an absolute disaster. And that's by, and I forget how you describe Truth Out, but they're not necessarily the left of the left. But that's the article you can go check out. So let's scroll down now and start with a video.
Truth Out is one of the people that they pose out progressive. They're willing to talk about some issues, but they're in line that they are very cognizant that they can't cross. That's pretty much the Truth Out. They can talk about something. They can talk about union stuff. They can talk about social democrat shit, but they're not really going to challenge the direction of the empire, from what I've seen. But anyway, go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, and sort of same thing with Perfect Union, more Perfect Union. I don't know if people know that's a progressive Democratic outfit. So I don't know if you know that. It'll kind of show in this video here. But let's listen to this video. It kind of sums up the story, the background for those that may not know, so that we can kind of talk about what happened earlier or last night.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul just started her first full term in office, and she's already pissing off pretty much everyone that voted for her.
When we needed people to get out to vote, I was Team Hochul. She promised us that we were going to have a seat at the table.
Yes, she did.
She put us on the menu.
That's Jimmy Mahoney, the head of the New York Iron Workers. He's yelling what many of Hochul's most loyal supporters are thinking. Here's why. In late December, Hochul nominated a conservative, anti-worker judge to be Chief Justice of New York's highest court. His name is Hector LaSalle, and he may be best known for ruling that corporations can sue union workers for criticizing their bosses. Since the announcement, the president of the New York AFL-CIO called the nomination troubling, and the president of 32BJ SEIU strongly urged the Senate to reject the nomination.
That's it.
Lots of other labor organizations did as well.
That's civility. That's what civility politics does to us. Now, I'm not criticizing them, but you see how they say, "Oh, it's troubling." Yeah. Why can't you call it corrupt?
Because the Democratic outfit, the leadership there, union leadership, probably has some sort of ties. I mean, they do, and they already said it. The guy in that video where he's saying, "Yeah, we came out," because he was saying they came out and we delivered for you, Governor, and now you're doing this. Yeah, she stabs workers in the back. Yes, you didn't know this.
This is why I implore, and I'll pass to CJ after this, though. I implore, and this is why I said on the Jimmy Dore show, the working class, we need to come up with a new culture where we reject this bullshit civility politics. Is using these terms like troubling, is that getting where you want to be with the Democratic Party? Is that helping? Is that pushing Joe Biden and these real estate-owned oligarchs in the Democratic Party to our side, saying they're troubling? Like, stop using these fucking euphemism and let's speak the way the working class is supposed to talk. They are corrupt. This was a bad, corrupt move. But let's continue.
Absolutely. Right here.
Well, together, they represent millions of workers in the state. But the growing opposition to LaSalle's nomination isn't just coming from organized labor. Concerns about his stances on abortion, criminal justice, and more have led to an all-out slugfest in Albany, where the future for working-class New Yorkers hangs in the balance. Here's the backstory. New York is a very blue state, but the Court of Appeals has been led by conservatives for years. Thanks, Andrew Cuomo. Then last summer, the Chief Justice, who's a conservative, resigned over an ethics scandal. Again, she was appointed by Andrew Cuomo.
The law and order people resign over an ethics scandal. And a governor, a Democratic governor, and Andrew Cuomo appointing people or creating this appeals court to be conservative. It's just astonishing to me. But what I want to do is move to Case Study QB's video on this topic, and it's right down here. So let's listen to this one. Yeah, I'm not going to preface it. So let's just listen to this take on it.
2 in favor, 10 opposed, and 7 without recommendation. The nomination is lost.
The Senate Judiciary Committee voted against the confirmation of Justice Hector LaSalle.
His nomination provoked intense backlash from progressives. CBS 2's political reporter Marcia Kramer here now to explain just exactly what happened, why this intense objection.
Well, they painted him as a conservative because of a handful of cases that had to deal with unions, abortion, things like that. And the thing about it is that the progressives want the New York court to be more liberal. They want it to be a counterpoint to the conservative Supreme Court of the United States. And they were very concerned that the previous court, headed by the previous Chief Judge Janet DiFiore, had a 4-seat conservative majority. They want to change that.
So is the vote over? I mean, this is not good for Governor Hochul.
Well, it's not good for Governor Hochul, but the vote is not exactly over because I'm told that she's already hired legal counsel and she's considering a court battle. She contends that the Constitution says that it's the advice and consent of the Senate, which means all 63 members. So
I'm going to pause it there. It's just interesting case. It's an interesting point of view that this subcommittee, because you know how they have these committees, just like they have with anything in Washington, D.C., they have a committee. It has to make it out of committee to get to the floor. So in order for him to get to a full Senate vote, he has to make it out of committee. And that's how they've set up these barriers. So now this barrier has become a problem for the ruling class. They've set this barrier up to stop things for us, but now it's become a problem for the ruling class. So now they're going to take it to court. And now thinking about it, because just think about it. The ruling class set up that extra barrier of this committee. That's not written into the Constitution, this committee. So she actually could win and be we have to go to the full floor because then Republicans will put this guy over the top. Go ahead, Nick.
That's why she hired a legal counsel. She wanted to spend money because she's confident. She's like, nigga, we wrote these laws. Y'all not about to hijack these laws and use it against us. So she hired legal counsel, like, find a way to get us to the victory because we know it's possible because these laws are supposed to work for us. It's the arrogance and the confidence of the bourgeoisie knowing they're going to win the case. Playing the legal counsel, they're like, just find a way. These laws are here to work for us. But let's continue. You can continue, CJ.
The question is whether she's going to prevail in that. And I'm told that it may be a case, believe it or not, that ends up going to the State Court of Appeals.
Oh, wow.
But it's not a good thing for the governor because think about this. If the progressives in the Senate can derail this, and by the way, it's
derail. Look at the language.
They can derail all of our other things as well.
So just pause it real quick because we do this all the time. Look at the language. Derail, right? And it will ruin it for him. Why not say, oh, this is a victory for the workers? You saw instead of saying it's a victory for the progressives and victory for ordinary people, she said this is derailment. This is the poor judge. The progressives derailing. These language are picked for a reason. But let's continue.
No, that's a great point. And the more we do these shows, the more we're able to pick up on these small points like this.
Yeah.
She wants criminal justice reform. They may decide to force her to raise taxes on the rich. They're now newly empowered. They just did this, and who knows what else they're going to try to do because they think she's too moderate, and they want a more liberal
she's too
agenda.
moderate.
Right.
Yeah, I love how the way, without saying it with words, but it's the tone, inflection. She's clearly giving the audience a particular thought direction to go, and the way she's using it, like she's saying progressive and liberal, but you're saying it with almost disdain. These progressives want, you get what I'm saying? So
it is negative.
She gives that off, yeah.
It's that they could easily present this story differently. Imagine it was like, this is a victory for democracy. The people finally had a pushback against the governor and won. Does it show that our system works, that they're not just unelected bureaucrats that have unaccountable power? They could easily spin this as a positive, which we take it as, right? But they don't. You guys think that decision is a coincidence? It's very coached, very well planned out. There's a reason why they picked her, and there's a reason why she's careful with every sentence she says. They're here to paint a protagonist and an antagonist. And in the story they want to present the progressives as being the antagonists because they are ruining their precious structure. They are ruining their. This is the same thing with the speaker fight. They're institutionalists. So anyone who ruins the process of the institution, it doesn't matter if it's for the worker, pro-worker, anti-worker, it doesn't matter. It's about maintaining the institutions. Anyone who gets in the way of that is viewed as the enemy in our corporate state media. Go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, now I'm going to actually skip on this and we got what we needed there and then go to this final video for this segment that this is a reporter from New York. So we're using this not to talk about Emma's opinion because he's the one that's going to be talking, but he gives details about the court rulings of this judge that Hakeem Jeffries was pushing. It's amazing. It's about 3 minutes long. Let's listen.
That's a recent change. When Cuomo was stacking the court in the first place, there wasn't a lot of pressure or pushback.
So right, exactly. And now it's had ramifications, and that's what makes it even more shocking that the new leader of the Democrats in the House, despite this directly leading to Democrats losing seats in the House, you could potentially pin them losing the majority on it, given how terrible the results were in New York State. Despite that, Hakeem Jeffries has gone to bat for this nominee, Hector LaSalle, alongside Kathy Hochul. So who is this guy? What is his record? Why are progressives upset about it? And if you don't mind just expanding on that.
Yeah, totally. It's like one of those decisions that's so confounding, especially after this election cycle. It's like New York Democrats have not just learned nothing, they've learned less than nothing. So LaSalle, so Hochul has recommended a slate of 7 possible nominees. There's a commission that has to recommend a handful of judges for this position to her, and she picks from one of them. So she got 7 of them. And among the nominees were a handful of I think, really extremely qualified judges, people who have a record in New York, come from backgrounds that you consider diverse, professionally diverse, which is something that the Biden administration has really championed. And she picks Hector LaSalle. And I think if you want to be the most charitable to her, you would say, well, she picked LaSalle because there's a lack of Latino representation at the highest echelons of power in New York. She wanted to do something about that. But that's pretty much where I think the charity ends, because, of course, if you did any vetting at all, you would have quickly found out that he was involved in a handful of decisions that were going to infuriate the most important constituencies in Democratic politics in New York. And I should say that Hochul has a history of being very, very bad at vetting. It's her lieutenant governor, when she took over for Cuomo, her second in command, Brian Benjamin, was someone who a lot of people said you got to be careful about. There are rumors about
element, but his record is basically
constitutional protections against discrimination based on race or anything else, which is obviously wild. And
okay, so I just wanted to skip to that
he
part.
So signed off on this on dismissing jurors based on their skin color as well. That's just one element, but his record is basically pretty sparse, except for some of these extreme examples that I'm sure you can dive into.
Right. So what was interesting in the hearing that we saw yesterday was, despite LaSalle is a high-ranking judge, he hasn't written a ton of opinions. So there actually isn't a lot out there to judge him on. But what we do have to judge him on, and what the Senate Judiciary Committee had to judge him on, is like a handful of really alarming decisions. And so one of them, as you mentioned, it was brought up repeatedly in these hearings, was this decision where a prosecutor pushed to throw out potential jurors on the basis that they were dark-skinned. And LaSalle basically blessed that decision and found that dark-skinned was not a protected group in the Constitution, that it didn't rise to the level of constitutional protections against discrimination based on race or anything else, which is, obviously
dark skin. No other reason. That guy has dark skin. Now, I would guess who was the defendant in that case, where you're throwing off jurors were dark skin, or that's the reason you give the judge. and this judge says, okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, do that. Dark skin, yeah, I don't like dark skinned people too. Get that motherfucker out of here. Astonishing, but it gets worse, Nick. Let's listen to another case that he
wild. And of course, the Court of Appeals, which he's trying to get onto, overturned that immediately because it was so glaring and ridiculous. So that was one thing that criminal justice advocates were, totally galled by. The next case that came up a lot was this case, shorthand is called Cablevision, and it was a decision that he gave that was a devastating blow for organized labor, because it basically allowed companies to sue labor organizers for being critical of the company. And so, it just blows a massive hole in the protections that exist for organizers to court new union chapters. And
I can stop there. Now, with those two cases, we can take them down. Think about that, Nick. Why is she drawing this line? Like, can you have any clearer case that this is a uniparty, that red and blue coordinate with each other? I can't see a clearer case. I'm talking about with everybody, with Hakeem Jeffries coming out, the Democratic speaker, soon to be speaker in a couple of years. He's coming out, putting his name on the line as the new black, young, progressive speaker. He's willing to put his life on his name on the line for this, and Hochul. Like, why? And it's astonishing. But your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, as I said, I said this on the Jimmy show. There's no, this is not a meritocracy. Like, you rise in this system based on how loyal you are to the system. How are you willing to turn your back on workers? Are you, in this particular case, are you willing to side against workers? Are you willing to side with white supremacy and the system at whole? This guy was, so he get rewarded for it. Same way King Jeffrey got speaker. He not speaker because he's smart. He got an original idea. The same way the judge is not getting these positions because he's some sort of unique legal scholar. He did what the ruling class wanted. Thus, he is being rewarded for it. And you see how that order to reward that person is way more powerful than these quote-unquote disagreements that Democrats claim they have with Republicans. Because this judge is apparently anti-choice. Hakeem Jeffries and Democrats strong. They stand with women after Roe v. Wade was overturned. We are strongly pro-choice. But that disagreement means fucking nothing compared to their agreement of being anti-labor. The fact this guy's anti-labor, they were quickly overlooking the small cultural disagreements. That's why I also say I wish the working class had the same loyalty. The loyalty that the ruling class have for the judge, it almost brings a tear to your eyes seeing how class loyal they are. I want the workers to feel that way, right? But anyway, that's my final thoughts, CJ.